Alright, what's going on, y'all? We're back, and of course we're going a different route. In fact, we're going a route I probably should have been going quite some time ago, and apologies to at least a certain group of folks, but definitely to everybody watching. I honestly am doing y'all a disservice, but I do have to acknowledge the fact that, up until now I've been bullshitting on this, but we're going to get into a little Broncos talk here because obviously a big thing when it comes to Broncos talk here, as you can see, is quarterbacks. And with that in mind, obviously there have been quite a few I guess we'll call them ideas going around as far as what a lot of people would like to see Denver do in terms of the number 12 overall pick or potentially moving up. I'm more in the school of thought that would heavily prefer to trade back. More particularly because the more picks that we're able to get our hands on, the more actual needs the Broncos are actually able to fill. Of course, I say we, and I do that. Of course, when it comes to this, there are going to be times where I show my bias. Sometimes it can't be helped. I do, hopefully, am inclined to say that hopefully, this isn't going to deter you from watching, but if nothing else, hopefully you'll excuse that. I think that's the way I wanted that to come out. But in any case, I just feel as if, I'm good to be fair-minded enough about this much. I can understand those that are in the camp trade up, because I get it, at least with the top three, those are guys that at least seem to jump the most off of a lot of people's screens, tablets, whatever. And it's understandable, but at the same time, it really doesn't mean a whole lot because in the long run, it doesn't necessarily prove that they're going to actually pan out the way a lot of people think that they're going to on the next level. I mean, sure, a lot of these dudes that we're looking at right here are, definitely very proven on the college level, but at the same time, there's only so much about that that's just gonna translate over when you go from that into the NFL. That's just the way that it goes. Hell, I mean, I imagine that, say that a lot of these guys that don't end up getting picked or even getting signed as UDFAs, chances are they probably end up, now in this case, in the USFL, previously and respectively the XFL and USFL. But all the same, even with that, you have to figure that there's got to be some sort of a process with that because, it's just, you're dealing with pros, you're dealing with grown-ass men at this point. It's not the same as what it is, whether it be the SEC, the Pac-12, which is, of course, going away, Big 10, Big 12, or so forth, All those things don't really matter at the end of the day because, I just can't help but think of countless times where there have been situations that, guys have supposedly shown a certain level of promise and everything, but yet in the long run, I mean, is that really what it boils down to with this? Because, when I think about that and the things that I hear about, just, for example, with this guy in particular, no knocks on him, by the way, I just want to be perfectly clear about that. Again, I want to be as fair-minded as I can about this. But, in all truthfulness, if I'm being perfectly honest, he doesn't really move me like that. I mean, and to be And the reality of that, for that being what it is just the fact that I just don't feel like I've seen enough. And what's crazy is that dude has been showcased plenty of times on a national platform, which is really, really wild to me. Yet, so many people, which, all the respect in the world to you for this. I mean, if you're on the McCarthy bandwagon, cool. But there's something to be said for blindly wanting to just risk so much, regardless of what it may be, just for someone who, is, if we're being perfectly honest, as of now, is nothing more than a poster child. And if we're being perfectly real, that's the case with all these guys. But at the end of the day, I'm just saying this being as perfectly honest about this as I can. And you can take it for what you will, but really, truth be told, just the prospect of things like this, I mean, this is a guy I'm a little bit more sold on than Bo Nix, because I've actually seen a bit more, and for me, he's a little more convincing in terms of what I think would be a good fit for the Broncos, especially now that Payton is the head coach. Sean Payton is the head coach, and this goes back for me to when he was actually at Auburn, okay? And does he show any greater flashes than what a J.J. McCarthy does? Not entirely, but I'm just more inclined to believe in him than I am McCarthy. That's just my take on that. That's just where I'm at with that, because I didn't really need much, because just based on the things that I saw of him at Auburn, I would say that I was impressed, but I would also acknowledge the fact that, if nothing else, he actually showed something to me that I feel like fits a little bit better, just for the fact that he's going to be more starter ready than McCarthy is. And when you got a quarterback room like Jared Stidham and Ben DiNucci, that kind of leaves a lot to be desired. And the fact that Peyton didn't make too many moves to this point, is rather concerning. And really, if we're going to go anywhere to preferences, this right here is it, probably don't want that so close to there, but either way, this would be the way that I'd want to go, is either one of these two. Just simply put, you already know what I've said just now about Bo Nix, but when it comes to Michael Penix Jr., I gotta say, just watching him at the Combine was, it was one of the kind shit, especially for the fact that he just went out there, and I want to put a clip up above this, but it was when he was making those throws, and they showed his face in the process of one of said throws, and I'm sorry, that's just the face of someone who just knows that that throw that he's making is just fucking money. Spot on fucking money. And I'm willing to take that any day over a whole lot of others. Now, I can understand the detractors when it comes to Penix, but the thing is, that's only going to matter so much just based on the fact that if the Broncos decide to trade up or stay at 12, it may not be as worthwhile for that to be the direction that Sean Payton goes. Now, the flip side to it is if you do a trade down and either him, Nix, or even McCarthy, or perhaps, dare I say, Drake May and Jaden Daniels should fall, which is still liable to happen, regardless of what the mock drafts say, I think it's worth considering, And just for the fact that I've seen a couple of trade samples, shout out to Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports for this, but they posted a couple of ideas that I'm really into. One of which was an idea from a few, well, at least a couple of months ago. I'm not real sure how far back, but it's a deal involving the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is where I'd have liked to have probably seen this happen at the deadline if we knew we were going to get rid of Justin Simmons. But either way, I would think that getting a second rounder along with maybe another day 2 pick and a day 3 would have probably been the move for Simmons, and I would say just trading down perhaps, but that would have been too early for that kind of move. We'll just be perfectly honest, just call that what it is. But, that's just if I'm, I guess, fantasy GMing, if that's what you want to call it, that's kind of an idea of what I'd like to do. But the actual move is just a pick swap between the Broncos and the Eagles. 12 for, I believe, 22, and the Broncos would get number 50 in round 2 in addition to that. I mean, that's just a solid, that's actually a solid A, probably even A plus type of move if we're being honest. Because again, you could have one of those guys fall, and hell, if you want to take a chance on them falling to a second round, you could look at maybe some O-linemen, preferably pass rush, or perhaps supplement the cornerback room. I mean, there are just an awful lot of options that you have with that, but the idea here is that you're giving yourself more options that way. And I just don't think that it gets any more, that you can have a smarter move than that. Excuse me, I love when I'm able to talk, but you're going to get that from me in a lot of these. But, yeah, either way, that's just me on that, and this is just really me merely scratching the surface on what I want to get into with this, and I'm going longer than I want to with this, but let me know what y'all think about this. I mean, this is just where I'm at. Oh, another trade idea, which was a little more recent. Again, shout out to Broncos Breakdown, but an idea was involving the Detroit Lions. I think this one's a little less likely, however. But we'd be going from, we'd see the Broncos go from 12, I believe, to 29, and we would also get their second and third rounders for this year. Now, I don't know that that's a move that Detroit's willing to make, because they've definitely got voids that they need to fill too. Despite the fact that, they were on the verge of a Super Bowl, and well, I'm not even going to call it my opinion. I just don't see any way around it. This is reality. I'm sorry, sorry, not sorry to Chiefs fans. Y'all have lost if it were Detroit. I'm sorry. There's just no way around that. Y'all can at me all y'all want. There's just no shot. No shot whatsoever. But we'll leave that at that. I'm not going to go so much into that. But what I will say on this is, definitely look forward to more to come on this. I'm certainly not done here. I just only have so much time left, and I really need to get going. I should be gone now, but oh well, fuck it. Anyways, y'all know what it is. Like, share, subscribe. I'll get at y'all.